complete it. So if you ever want to go back and see it again. Amy, do you mind letting people in as they come in?
I'm on it. I don't mind at all.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
So those of you that was not being able to be here for the July meeting, that was actually my first meeting as your coordinator. And so I do appreciate everyone who's decided to come back. And since that meeting, we have also had our subcommittee meetings as well. So we are in full-fledged forward motion with this committee. So I want to thank you all for all the time that you have provided and been willing to give. So our meeting today, we will start off with some new attendee introductions. And I do know of at least 2 new attendees today, maybe 3. And if there's anyone else that I forget, please feel free to speak up and introduce yourself as well. But first, I want to introduce Dr. Daniel Levy. Dr. Levy, can you please introduce yourself?
Can you hear me?
Sir.
Okay, my name is Dan Levy. I'm a pediatrician. I practice in Owings Mills, Maryland, which is a northwest suburb of Baltimore. So let's go Orioles for whatever it's worth. I've been in practice for 45 years. I am assistant professor of pediatrics at Johns Hopkins and the University of Maryland. And I am a board member at the Institute for Global Road Safety and Security of Clemson University, where I met Claudia and have been involved in car safety for my entire career. So I'm really excited to be here, and I appreciate the invitation.
Thank you for being here. I do appreciate that. And I do know we have Alicia, and I'm probably going to murder your last name as well, just like I did Dr. Levy's, Villalobos. Are you on today, Alicia?
She is. She probably has to take herself off mute, though.
Yeah, if you could. You are unable to get off of mute, that's fine. We can come back if you do decide you want to address the group. And then Peter Burns is another person I think that has not been able to introduce himself as well. Peter, are you on today as well?
Yes, hi. Good afternoon. Peter Burns. I manage the Human Factors and Crash Avoidance Research Program at Transport Canada. So we do research evaluating the safety of various vehicle systems, and we also look at the safety of human interactions with technologies. And we have a project looking at child presence detection in vehicles. So we're interested in assessing the state of technologies and looking at evaluation methods to determine their potential, and also to look at the effectiveness of different intervention strategies in getting the caregiver to respond to notifications. So the human factor side of warnings. So thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Was there anyone else that I missed that is kind of new to the work group that would like to introduce themselves?
Hi, me, Carol Lau. I work with Peter. I'm also from Transport Canada. I'm one of the human factors specialists that works with Peter. Nice to meet everyone.
Thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Susanna Strom, if you don't mind. I'm also from Transport Canada. I manage the consumer awareness and public awareness of road safety in Transport Canada's and so we're undertaking various safety campaigns focused on pediatric vehicular heat stroke and trying to raise awareness about this issue here in Canada.
Thank you, Susanna. And Paula?
Hi, I'm Paula Raymond. I'm with Toxel. I'm a research psychologist. I've been working in transportation since the late 90s, and we are involved in a couple of pediatric vehicular heat stroke projects. So I'm interested to see what we end up discussing.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else?
Yes, hello. My name is Alicia Villalobos. I'm sorry, I have some technical issues, but I work with Susanna Strom in the Road Safety and Motor Vehicle Regulations Directorate at Transport Canada. So thank you.
Anyone else before we move forward? Thank you. So our agenda today is included in the invitation that you received through the email that I sent, but we also have it here on the screen. So we went through the introductions. We're going to recap off from our last quarterly meeting that we had in July. In that meeting, we discussed the new makeup of this work group and the subcommittees. We also provided you an opportunity to learn a little bit about some new research that has come out of I think we had Julaj Mahushari and his associates on who spoke about their research regarding parents' risk assessment, the risk that they felt like they had with pediatric vehicular heat stroke. We also gave you the opportunity to choose between your subcommittee engagement. If you have not done that, we will provide you with that opportunity today. If you look on the screen there, that QR code will allow you to choose a subcommittee if you haven't already. Your options would be the legislative and policy, research and technology, or the communications subcommittee. And I think they're all described when you go into the form. The description of each of those subcommittees is available to you to help you make your decision. But we would love to have some more voices on each of the subcommittees from anyone here that has not already done so. And I did say this before, we understand that if you don't have the bandwidth to do more than one subcommittee, we totally understand that, but we also would love to have you to be on a subcommittee that you wouldn't normally choose to be on. The purpose of that is so that we can have different voices that in relation to different areas that need to be addressed in pediatric vehicular heat stroke. And the only way to do that is to get out of your comfort zone and be in these other subcommittees. So if you do happen to have the bandwidth to do more than one, please, by all means, do that and fill out one of the forms so that we can add you to the other subcommittees. If you know of anyone that is not on this pediatric vehicular heat stroke work group, that would be a great voice. Please, by all means, direct them to myself, and I will be able to help them get started and be a part of this group. We love to have the extra voices and look forward to that. All right. The other thing that we did in July was we did give you an opportunity to do some updates as well. So if you didn't do that in July and would like to do that today, we will also do that at the end of the meeting as well today. So from our subcommittees, we do have, I think, 2 of the 3 subcommittee leaders on the call today. So we'd love for you to report out what your subcommittees did in your meetings between July and now. So we'll start with Katie with the Communications Subcommittee.
Thank you all. Katie Mueller here from National Safety Council. Thank you, Claudia, for giving us the opportunity to have this discussion about communications. And so one of the things that we had the opportunity to talk about was really what our goals were around the communications subcommittee. We really spent our time looking at what is our purpose here and how can we amplify things that are going on in the legislative work group and research and technology and amplify that in a strategic way. So we're going to create kind of a clearinghouse of communication resources and tools for this effort. And I will be kind of coordinating the repository for that information. And so then any of the members of this group can go there and look for things like talking points that are common and have kind of been agreed to by the group. Or key objectives of maybe legislative policy and how do we talk about that. Really in an effort to come together and share information in a common and strategic way, but also keep up to date that research and information so that we're all utilizing the most up-to-date talking points, research, and data available. Claudia, is there anything else that you wanted me to highlight from that meeting?
That was perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Elena Dahlquist was the subcommittee leader for the Legislative and Policy Group, and I'm reporting for her. The same as Katie's group, we kind of introduced ourselves and went over the goals for the Legislative and Policy Subcommittee. Basically, we want to assess current policies and legislation in the prevention of pediatric vehicular heat stroke and fatalities, as well as project priority recommendations and policy change as related to pediatric vehicular heat stroke, forming and overseeing projects related to policy and legislative change, collaborate with communication subcommittee to make sure we have proper messaging, which is wonderful that Katie's already set up that collaboration as well. And just everybody, if you don't mind checking your mute, please. Also to review and develop relevant metrics as related to policy and legislative countermeasures, and then as well as providing at least one speaker recommendation in a calendar year to the full work group meeting. So we did discuss expected regulations that are coming down from NHTSA and talk about how that does affect automakers' commitments to preventing pediatric vehicular heat stroke. We discussed policies related to reporting and how some things are missed in the reporting due to the fact that there are not codes for certain situations that do occur with pediatric vehicular heat stroke, and there are near misses that are not captured at many times. We also discussed about raising awareness and requiring funds to be allocated to education, either nationally or by state-sponsored programs, and recall notifications, basically developing more legislation to cover the bare minimum that's needed to be able to prevent pediatric vehicular heat stroke. And we also want to develop policy change for reporting if we can as well. And that's in a nutshell. If there's anything that I've missed in that from those that are in the Legislative and Policy Subcommittee, please feel free to speak up because I may have missed something there. So if Amy, if you're ready, we'll let you go ahead and speak on the Research and Technology Committee.
Thanks, Claudia. The Research and Technology Subcommittee met on September 13th. We discussed developing a foundation for meeting the committee goals that have been outlined from the work group, such as discussing collaboratively where our starting point is in the effort to develop new countermeasures, assessing existing research, identifying gaps that exist, and how this group can address those gaps. We've chunked out the asks of the committee into phases, such as assess and evaluate as phase 1. We'll follow with reviewing and developing metrics and prioritizing recommendations. And we plan to move on to collaborating with the other subcommittees, such as for accurate messaging around new countermeasures. We discussed a potential literature review to address the research component of our committee. And we had a technology presentation to begin exploring technology as a collaborative committee. My thanks go out to Jan Knoll for sharing a literature review he has. Claudia also shared articles for review, Dr. David Schwebel, and I apologize if I missed anyone else that has sent articles. I'll be working on combining that information in preparation for our next meeting. And this past meeting, our thanks goes out to Lori Cawley, who presented on Sense Alert technology. And during our next meeting, it's planned that Amber Rollins will present about multiple products. And there are more speakers who have volunteered for future meetings. So we're looking forward to that. As far as needs for the other subcommittee or our subcommittee, there aren't any at this time. However, we'll let other committees know as we review literature if there's information included that may be relevant to their work. Our next subcommittee meeting is scheduled for November 9th. We have many articles for review and preparation, and I have another technology presentation planned, as I mentioned. So we'll continue to work towards a balance of addressing research and technology interests as we also work to achieve the expectations outlined for this group, as you've shared in previous meetings, Claudia.
Thank you, Amy. I really appreciate that. All right. So now we have a great presentation from Paul Scullion. I hope I said that correctly. And he is with the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, and I will hand it over to Paul.
Thanks, Claudia. Let me just share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen okay?
Sure, good to go.
Awesome, great. So thanks again for the opportunity to speak with everyone today. My name is Paul Scullion. I'm Director of Safety with the Alliance for Automotive Innovation. For those not familiar with Auto Innovators, or Auto Innovators for short, we represent a large cross-section of the automotive industry, ranging from OEMs to original equipment suppliers, other technology companies, so really covering a broad spectrum of the industry as a whole. And I think it provides us with a unique opportunity to really dig into some of the key areas of policy affecting industry. And our goal is really driving for a cleaner, safer, smarter future. So in terms of my day-to-day work, as I mentioned, I'm the Director of Safety. I cover a broad range of safety policy issues. However, as most of you know, this is a very challenging issue to work on, given the tragic nature of the incidents that occur in the real world. And as a father of two, it also provides extra motivation for making sure that we're looking at policies that can really make a difference in terms of impacting safety as a whole. So in looking at this issue, I think it's become harder just to look at it solely as a vehicle issue, and really sort of looking at the broader policy and how we can have sort of supporting policies to make sure that we're all moving in unison and looking at this from a safe systems perspective. So from a PVH perspective, this is really predominantly focused on safer vehicles and safer people. And I'm going to talk a little bit in the slides coming up about some of the efforts that we're undertaking with regards to technology innovation, looking at ways to increase public awareness, really building strategic partnerships, as well as some of the future policy issues that may need to be considered. And some of this dovetails with the committee updates that we just heard from. So as some of you know, and for some of you that are new to the group, just to provide a quick update in terms of the state of play in terms of the policy landscape. So back in 2019, sort of recognizing a gap and sort of a rising emphasis on this issue, Auto Innovators' predecessor organization, so the Alliance for Automotive Manufacturers and Global Automakers, developed a commitment with leading automakers looking to implement rear seat reminder systems in vehicles by 2024 or 2025 model year vehicles, and really outlining the criteria for reminder systems, including different ways of either directly or inferring the presence of occupants in the rear of the vehicle, as well as the conditions for providing alerts. And really the goal of this was to provide a baseline for which manufacturers could begin implementing these systems, but not creating a ceiling to whereby they would be limited in terms of the innovative solutions that they may be able to implement. And we have seen a range of options being introduced across the industry that rely both on direct and indirect sensing, and a significant progress as exemplified from our progress report, which we issued last year. And I'll be able to post the link to this in the chat after my slides. Essentially, the goal of this report is to not only educate consumers on the risks associated with pediatric vehicular heat stroke, and some of the policy recommendations for trying to address the gap as we increase the number of vehicles in the fleet. It still will take time for that to permeate throughout the entire vehicle ecosystem that we know today. So it's important that we have that kind of backstop in place. But as of 2022, significant progress, as I mentioned, more than 150 vehicle models were equipped with rear seat reminder systems as standard or optional equipment. And when I say optional equipment, I think there were only 2 of those that were optional. So the predominantly standard equipment in the fleet. And I'm currently working on the updated report. I only have limited data. I was hoping to be able to provide more of a preview, if you will. But that document we're planning on publishing at the end of this month, and hopefully we'll see again a rise in those numbers. And some of our member companies have already made those commitments public as part of a NHTSA docket. So in addition to the heat stroke report, I think we're also trying to make sure that we're making sure that the resources are available to educate the public in terms of the risks of leaving children unattended in vehicles. Highlighting on our website, significant or the various resources that stakeholders can leverage and utilize to share among their sort of ecosystem, if you will. We also recognize that there's a need to not just necessarily have the information available on the static website, but that we look for ways to spread the message more broadly. And this kind of led to us looking for new opportunities to build strategic partnerships. And I think this is an area where I think the group of stakeholders on the call today can be effective in sort of looking for ways to build similar partnerships where we can get messaging out there. This is a multi-year effort. I think we're in our second year now. And I had an opportunity to attend the game, and it was quite frequent throughout that you would see sort of the advertisements flashing up to remind folks to be aware of the risks and always look before they lock. So in terms of future policy, I think there's a number of areas that we're also looking at and sort of how we can be proactive and collaborative in really addressing the safety need here. And I think from an overarching perspective, I think the key word here is probably engagement, engagement from federal, state, and local policymakers. And I think this permeates throughout the remaining 4 bullets here. There is an ongoing need for public education and awareness and making sure that the resources are available in terms of not just the materials, but the funding availability to ensure that the information can be disseminated, particularly among the most needed populations, including those with families and young kids and among caregivers. Additionally, I think there's a need for, as was discussed in some of the committee output, the need for more data collection or sort of more formalized data collection. So obviously there are groups out there that have been collecting this information for a number of years, but being able to sort of put that in a more formalized process so that we can get a better understanding of the incidents that are occurring in the field and how we can sort of tailor our public education and awareness efforts, as well as in terms of how technologies can be designed to really ensure that reminders remain effective. Additionally, understanding through research how messages are resonating with the public and how those might need to evolve over time. I think one of the challenges that we always deal with on a sort of parallel issue in the issue of vehicle recalls and making sure that folks aren't just ignoring the notice and that they actually go in and get the repair done. Similarly, making sure that folks aren't sort of becoming desensitized and sort of looking at ways that we can kind of harness those messages. And finally, another area that we're looking at closely is obviously the NHTSA rulemaking, as you mentioned earlier, Claudia, in terms of the upcoming regulations under development. And there are a number of sort of outstanding policy questions that likely have to get resolved as part of that rulemaking. So we're in the initial stages of developing our positioning around some of those issues and hopefully be able to provide constructive feedback as the agency moves forward on that issue. So that's kind of my presentation in a nutshell. Again, it's an area I think that we view as a high priority within the association, and looking at really, again, to be proactive, be engaged, and then we definitely welcome the opportunity to participate in this group, and obviously looking forward to working with each of you as we move forward. So I'll pause there. I guess I'm not sure if you wanted a Q&A or.
Yes, if anyone has any questions, please.
Sure.
You said you had a reminder system developed. Is that the same or identical layout for all the manufacturers?
In terms of the commitment, the main areas that it covers relate to the detection, as well as providing alert. However, it doesn't specify specifically how that alert must be provided. So there's flexibility in there for manufacturers to look at different ways of providing alerts. And I think that's one of, I guess, perhaps the policy questions related to the upcoming NHTSA rulemaking. How might they address that issue to ensure that any standardized alerts are well understood by the consumer and not necessarily ignored. And I think that's an area, again, where research, I think, can be helpful to get an understanding of how consumers are engaging with systems that are in the fleet, to really sort of drive what that might look like in future.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
I just got a new car for my wife, and that has a screen where soon as you stop and shut off the engine, there's a large sentence in there. Have you forgotten anything? Like your baby in the car? And it stays on for maybe 20 seconds until the system notices that you leave the vehicle, or I have left the vehicle. And it's very obvious. Suddenly there's something new there, and that comes into there's something, and you automatically look. So it's very effective, I believe.
Yeah, and I had the opportunity to. This was when I was on a trip in Europe to rent a car there. My current car doesn't have the reminder system, but it was a door logic system that provided a similar alert when shutting off the vehicle, and I found it to be very obvious. Even if you were, turning your head to exit, it was still very, very obvious and in view.
Yes.
Hi, this is Alok Prasad at VRTC NHTSA. Paul, we have found but some variation in the user interface, and like when the alert occurs, the exact language in the commitment document simply says, let me see, that it should point B2 is activate after the engine or motor is deactivated. Some of them do immediately, some of them wait until a door is opened. Not all vehicles have audible and visible alerts as they're supposed to, and these are on vehicles that are in the published list of vehicles meeting the commitment from the last one. I haven't checked in case the latest one has come out in the last few weeks. So is there anything that the Alliance is doing as a QC, or are you guys just publishing the list as provided by the manufacturers?
In terms of the development of the report, we provide sort of very specific parameters around the lists that they provide us. So we haven't done any sort of post verification of that list. However, the instructions given to the manufacturers in terms of what they have to provide is clear. So if there are instances like that, if you're able to share those with us, I can check back with those. Additionally, on your comment about the variation in alerts, I think that's an area I think that we're also looking at closely. So I think the commitment is intended to make sure that we can get technologies out there sooner while providing flexibility, but there are potential areas where we could put a finer point on some of those, and I think that's what we're trying to do within our working group, to sort of figure out what would be sort of a way that we can look at this more in a sort of put a finer detail on those outstanding questions.
Okay.
And we can certainly follow up and provide our perspectives. But if you're able to share that list of vehicles, I think we can circle back with our members and try to get a response back to you.
Okay, thanks.
One more, Emily Thomas.
Hi, Paul. Emily Thomas from Consumer Reports. I'm wondering if within the Alliance, you guys have had any discussions about retrofitting. I'm just curious if there's been any discussions among the auto manufacturers about what could be done for vehicles that are not new and that are on the fleet.
Yeah, up to now, we haven't had any discussions around the retrofit concept. However, I think one of the challenges is obviously the extent to which these systems may be integrated with other features on the vehicle, and the extent to which existing architecture may provide some limitation there. I think we're generally supportive, I think, of aftermarket solutions from a CRS perspective, and sort of looking at the different options that are coming into the market as a potential avenue. But I think there may be limitations in terms of a retrofit, but it's not something we've discussed at length in our working group. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions before we move forward?
One quick question, Paul. The current version of the commitment is at least not explicitly, but implicitly covering door-based systems. Are you planning to harmonize with Euro NCAP as they transition on to occupant sensing systems?
I think at this point, we have no plans to update their current commitment, and part of that, I think, is related to the rulemaking that the agency is working on. It would be challenging for us to go beyond what's currently there if the rulemaking were to go in a different direction. So currently no plans, but we're waiting to see kind of how the regulation shapes up, and looking to make sure that we can be collaborative and constructive in the feedback that we provide. But I think as a general point, I think looking at the Euro NCAP approach is one that seems to be looking at just the door logic in the near term, and then perhaps progressing to occupant detection in the longer run. So is there a role similarly in the US for regulation and NCAP to work in tandem to really sort of drive different types of technology solutions into the marketplace?
Yeah. Okay. I think the transition to occupant sensing is not that far away, 2025, maybe January. But are you guys working with Euro NCAP as an organization and in contact with them, giving them your feedback?
Our members are engaged, but we have not been directly engaged with them on this topic. But we are sort of monitoring developments.
All right, thanks.
All right, anyone else? Excellent. Thank you so much, Paul, for your time today and presentation. We do appreciate it. If anyone would like to follow up with him, we can provide you with his contact information if you have any questions outside of the work group meeting today. All right, so now we're going to take a moment to share any membership updates, and this could be things that you're doing in your normal course of business, working with pediatric vehicular heat stroke or child safety in general in vehicles. Does anyone have any new research within their organization? Any new developments in technology, policy, or education that anyone would like to share? Or anything else? I love hearing braggers, so unfortunately we don't have any today, but that's okay. Maybe you'll have it next meeting. I want to thank everyone for your opportunities. I did get a few more requests for subcommittee assignments, so I will be in touch with you as soon as we get off the call today to let you know that I've connected you with the proper subcommittee chair. So thank you for that. And we are going to give you back some of your time today because we got done a little early. Our next meeting will be January 9th, and it will be at 1 o'clock Central Time, which is 2 Eastern. And if you have any questions regarding that, or if you don't receive an invitation for this meeting, by all means, just reach out to me. That's my email address on the screen, and I'm happy to make sure that you get your invitation to the next meeting. We will not be requiring you to register for the meetings. We decided that was not a prudent thing to do, just because it causes extra steps. So if you want to join and you want to come in, please do. If there's anyone that you want to invite to the work group, by all means, please invite them to these full work group meetings. It's open to the public, and we do post them as well. And we are welcome to do that as well. Amber, I think you had something that you needed to say. And so all the meetings will be held on Microsoft Teams. And even if you do not have a Teams account, you still can access the meetings. You just use the link within the email address or the email invitation. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your time today.
One
Yes.
quick question. Has the
Yes.
invitation for the January 9th been sent out?
No, it will be sent out this week.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking. All right. Anybody else have anything before we let you go for the day? Right. Y'all have a great afternoon, and thank you again. We'll see you in your small subcommittee groups. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.